So here we are, sharing secrets of the soil with me, your host, Regen Ray. Hello, soil lovers, and welcome to another episode of Secrets of the Soil. I'm super excited. I'm Regen Ray, and I'm joined today with very, very special guests. We have some of our members that belong to our Farming Secrets community, and I'm super excited to dig deeper into their world of soil. Now, I don't know if you want to all unmute and say hello as a group. You ready? 3, 2, 1.
Hello.
Excellent. Good stuff. It's super fun. And this is what we do every second week. We hang out in a virtual classroom and we just talk about all different things that are happening in the industry, and we share news, we update things, and we work through different ideas, and we have guest speakers. And tonight, you, our soil lover listeners, are our guests. So you're in on a bit of you're eardropping into some of the conversations. And I've been interviewing a lot of people lately, and it's been interesting to hear their take on soil and what it's like to go through the regenerative movement and the journey. And so I'm curious to know, Megan, I might throw to you first. You had a very unique experience of getting some land and then seeing someone else manage it maybe the way you didn't want. Can you share with our soil lovers listeners like what that was like and then how you've taken the land back?
Heartbreaking, really. It's probably having Melbourne eyes. We sort of saw things or do see things very differently to farmers around here. So we came to the land, it was thriving, it was lush, and then we sort of watched it as it sort of started to degrade. We flood a lot, which is heartbreaking to watch too. Just watching the soil levels just sort of under fence lines, the gap under the fences just get bigger and bigger. So we haven't got the aeration in the soil anymore. It's learning from Farming Secrets and trying to get as much knowledge as I can is helping me to make decisions on how to move forward. So,
yeah, awesome. And how important has it been to be around a community of like-minded people? Did you feel that support locally in your community, or have you had to lean online a little bit for that support?
Don't have anything like that in the community. I'm starting to find some people, but I literally had a permaculture group at my farm a few months ago, and I said to one person, I really wish I could find like-minded people around the area. And she goes, yeah, I know, there ain't many, are there? So they're trying to make a hub, let's say, to try to get people into the regenerative way of things. There isn't many. So online has been the only way Awesome. I've been able to grasp information.
Yeah, awesome. I think, online for me is near and dear because I've done a lot of my work online. But I think for farmers and people who have grown up in, regional communities, it's a little bit of a new thing. Even just getting people used to Zoom has taken a little while. And, a pandemic has actually fast-tracked a little bit of that, where everyone's doing everything online and via Zoom. Kay, I know that you are not a farmer. You're a retired biodynamic advocate, and we've had the pleasure of chatting with you and publishing some videos on our YouTube channel. So from your point of view as, say, a little bit more of not so much a farmer, but someone who is really passionate about soil, how has been in this community and hanging out with us been for yourself?
I guess the big thing, it's been the biggest thing actually that we've done. We are regenerative in a way, because this property was always just here as a household thing. I think it had been rented for a very long time, so there wasn't much happening in the soil. But the biggest thing and the best thing that we've ever done is when we signed up for the courses through Farming Secrets and we started learning about what was in the soil. We knew we had to make it better if we wanted to do what we wanted to do with it, which was feed ourselves. And so we joined up so that we bought a microscope and had no idea what we were looking at. So we then decided to do the course, and it's just been amazing. We've learned a lot about everything. We've learned that the soil is much like us. You think that the soil and the little bits in it or the little critters are different, but they're not. They follow the same sun and moon and all the seasons that we suffer or go through ourselves. And so there's a lot to do that about them and know about them that you know about yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's the most amazing thing that we've learned is how much like a human and our what we want, our comforts, our looking after, knowing when things are hot, when things are cold, when the seasons are here. And the soil does that automatically. You just have to tune into it. And that's what we've been learning, is to tune into all of these other things that live on this property with us. And we've taken a big decision Keith and I made, was that we would treat everything on the land, everything that comes and goes to our property, as if it's a guest, like we would treat our friends, like we would treat ourselves. So we try to have the same respect for everything that's here, our bees, our worms, and then all the other critters that live under the soil. So, yeah, the soil is a living part of us.
Absolutely. You couldn't have said it any better. And we appreciate that so much so that this year we changed our marketing avatar, not to be a human on the planet, but if soil is a living organism, then we wake up every day to serve the soil and make soil better today than what it was yesterday.
Yeah.
It is a living organism. And I think you've done a great job at explaining that it is like a human. We want comfort and we want to nurture and we want to be taken care of, and our soils need to do the same. Gerhard, Gerhard, I know you are very big on the visual soil assessment side of things. And so I know that sometimes soil is below the ground and it's out of sight and out of mind. Do you want to just share with everyone a little bit about who you are and what you've found with visual soil assessments?
How long have we got?
4 minutes.
A bit like Kay, I can certainly make that parallel with the soil and all the other living organisms associated with it, and the regeneration of soil being very human-like. And regeneration has to include decomposition as well. It's not just about getting life, but also converting that life back into a form that then can give back life again as well. So, and part of that is composting. And one of the things that crossed my mind when Kay was talking about that is that people would often ask me when I do composting workshops, particularly with land care groups, but other groups as well, is how is it that we can actually make compost? And I say, well, you've got to think like a microbe. And the answer really is in that, because if you think like a microbe, you actually do exactly what Kay said. You think about temperature, you think about oxygen, you think about food, you think about where you might live. And if you put it into that context, it becomes a very simple process of understanding how compost happens, because it's made by microbes that have the same requirements that we have. They're living organisms just like us. So in the context of visual soil assessment, once we start digging around in the soil and having a good look at what is taking place down there, we start to visualize not only the microbial components of the soil, and with a bit of practice you can pick up on that, but you can then also smell the soil. And in the case of soil fungi, you can smell the mushrooms that come through as well. So if you've got a soil that's got lots of fungi in it, then you don't necessarily need to go and grab a microscope. It's good to get that visual confirmation, but out in the paddock, you can smell the soil, and if it's nice and earthy and fungally or mushroomy in smell, then you know you've got a fungally dominant soil that's working away there. If the texture of the soil is that it's very sandy, very compact and very little organic matter, then it may have some bacteria in it. So the visual soil assessment process allows us to pick up those cues and work through it. And Graham Shepherd, who's a soil scientist from New Zealand, who's put together the visual soil assessment guidebook, has not only brought in the science, but also the opportunity for each of us to learn to read the soil by counting the earthworms, by doing the smell test, by looking at where the roots are going, by running around and looking at potential rooting depth, and that can be done with a soil penetrometer or a piece of wire. So, that all comes together quite neatly once we go and have a look at that soil factory and take the lid off it. And no factory manager in his own right would actually consider managing a factory without looking inside and seeing who's working and who's slacking off, and what sort of productivity we can potentially get out of that soil without having a look in there.
Yeah.
So the visual soil assessment is very important from that perspective, and there's a part that's not very well done across the board.
Yeah, and I feel like it's our first line of defense. Like it's the first thing to see, touch, smell, and then it can create curiosity and say, well, this feels different. Let me go and get a test done. And then you can start, pun intended, dig deeper. So I definitely think, visual, smell, our 5 senses are the first line of defense. And I know some people who even taste the soil. They're that game and they trust it and they know it, and there's lots of healthy benefits in that microbiome. Not saying that you need to go and eat soil, but some of it is definitely dirt out there and not even close to soil. So we need to nurture it. Monica, I want to chat to you about a little bit of what you think the word regenerative means. So from your point of view, when someone says the word regenerative, what does that mean for you? And maybe even share a little bit about your farm and your journey.
Regenerative, wow, that is a very broad term, and of course used by many people in many different ways. But my way of explaining what regenerative is actually comparing it to sustainable, which is one of the other words which is used very often when we talk about farming. And for me, the regenerative path is actually there where we should go to, because we are regenerating and bringing it forward to something better, to something more broader, or something more abundant, as compared to when we are sustainable. We keep soils at a level which sustains itself, so it keeps it there where it is, which unfortunately, in my view, in these days, it is very often at a sub-optimal level, which we can still sustain it or not even. That is the big problem. So there comes in the regenerative process, where we try to improve what is there to bring it to something which is naturally regenerating further and further, and getting us to a point where perhaps not so much interference is needed anymore from a human point of view, so that we go back to where it should be, or where it has perhaps been back in the past at some stage. And that's what we see probably in more natural environments still happening. But when we're talking farming, there we have, of course, a history of a bit of destruction and not observing the ecosystem as such. Yep. My journey is that I'm not a farmer at all. I'm a home gardener, but I'm very passionate about anything regenerative. And I'm gardening only for about 8 years, but have had a very steep curve after being introduced by only working at a herb farm. And after a couple of weeks there, I just got the garden bug and couldn't rid myself of it anymore, which means, I have gone from not knowing anything at all to finding it very important to teach people what I know, the little bit what I know, and to share it. And I see myself as a link between people who have different ideas to bring that together, and to find together in collaboration a really nice way to share what is actually essential for the survival of our planet, and especially for our health, because in my point of view, soil is the essence, or is actually the basis of everything. If we have a soil which is depleted for minerals, where do you think that we can have nutritious and healthy food from? And if we don't have the healthy food, how can we thrive? So when we start with the soil, we make actually this loop, or this circular system, which is in any ecosystem necessary to be viable. And that's my way of treating my soil and myself, and hopefully also bringing that to some more people around.
Yeah, absolutely are. And thank you so much for sharing that. And I just want to touch on that sustainability word. And I think, maybe 15, 20 years ago, being sustainable would have been okay. But unfortunately, we've continued to deplete everything and systems and mine our soils and get them to a point where maybe nowadays some farms, even if they are sustainable, they're at a bit of a broken level. And it's not to say that that's anything wrong. It's just now about, well, maybe there's a new way of healing that and rebuilding it and regenerating it. And I, love that, as soil listeners listening to this podcast, like, you don't need to be a farmer to have a super passionate love for soil. And that's why we call it Soil Lovers, because we are more than a community of just farmers and growers and producers. Myself included, I don't have land, but I'm definitely connected with so many people who do have land, and that impact is definitely inspiring. Pat, I don't know if you wanted to unmute yourself and talk about your journey and what's been keeping you busy.
Right, I'm up in Queensland and on a farm up here, grazing. Yes, regeneration. I find it difficult to organise myself to be able to improve or take my farm where I know it should be going. But regenerative ag to me is something that's not degenerating and is productive. And that can take many forms. Perhaps use as a guide, as humans, where humanity is separate from nature, but we must live in nature. And the further we take our farms away from nature, the more danger there is that we're doing something drastically wrong. So that's sort of, I use a bit of a guide for myself.
Excellent. And I think that's awesome to have like that North Star and say, like, this is where I want to go, and these are some of the things that I need to be doing, and working daily to get that. Why did you discover Farming Secrets and join the community? What were you looking for initially when you set out on that pathway?
Well, I found it very good, Ray. I've been sort of, as I say, trying to educate myself for years, in a regenerative sort of way. But I was actually just looking for some podcasts and educational material, and I came upon your site just on and started listening to some of your courses and podcasts, and did your 21-day soil challenge with you. And I've done some of Elaine Eamon's courses, and I've found it wonderful, all your resources, Ray. Thank you.
No worries, a pleasure. And I think the 21-day challenge was definitely a good eye-opener for a lot of people. Is like, it wasn't too hard, and it aligns very much to what Gerhard was saying about the visual soil assessments. It's about just doing a bug count. It's about counting the species of grass within a certain perimeter. It's about getting a wire and pushing it in the ground and seeing how deep it goes, and just starting to train your brain to see things from a different paradigm and a different set. So, I'm glad that you brought the 21-day soil challenge up, because it is definitely something that, opens up that dialogue to start thinking, oh, maybe I should look at my soil a little bit differently. So kudos for you for joining and doing the courses. And I know, like, sometimes it can be hard to find time to do the courses, and they are designed to do at your own pace. And then importantly, use as a bit of a database where you can just search and find the information you need. So I'm glad you're finding those resources useful. I was merging those two words together. Trina, you're up next on the hot seat. Do you want to share a little bit about maybe what has been a bit of an aha moment for you around soil, and share with the soil lovers listening, like a bit of a fun fact or a bit of a trick and tip of soil? I don't know if you're there because I can't see you. And if not, we'll jump the question to someone else. Oh, there we go.
My journey with Regenerative is I have a small property, 12 acres in 2J, and it was very run down when I first bought it. And I did a soil test, and when I got the soil test back, I really didn't understand it. So I used some tools like from Farming Secrets and stuff and some courses to learn as much as I could about understanding what this test proved. And it did prove that I don't have soil, I just have dirt. And so even today I was looking at one of Elaine Ingham's soil biology webcast things, and so I learned something today. I learned that I've got a very bacterial soil, so I need to put some more fungal back into it. So I'm building a compost now with lots of fungal foods, and so as soon as that's ready, I'm going to apply that, and hopefully that will help my soil regenerate, improve, and so that's my journey. And regenerative farming is, as far as I'm aware, the best way to go. Feed the soil, feed ourselves, and everything should be good.
It will be. I love that. And, it is a way to go. And we're all converted at, getting the word out and spreading it to others. And that's really what this podcast is all about, is, sharing these secrets of the soil. And maybe someone listens one day and goes, well, I want to be a bit more curious about that and start digging deeper. So thank you so much for joining us and sharing your journey. And you're right. Most people do have dirt, not soil. And that in itself is a massive aha moment that you can take away, because most people don't know that there is a difference. So
yeah, that's true.
Thank you for sharing that. Bella, you think you're going to get out of this hot seat? You are a regen rock star. And for anyone who's listening, Bella is our amazing talent behind a lot of the things that happens on our internet space, and been my lean-to for a lot of things, so we can keep producing everything. And I know Bella's quite shy and she's laughing right now, but Bella, you've had a bit of an interesting experience, because with your working here in Farming Secrets, you've started a little bit of a rooftop garden, and your family has become very interested, and you also have a family farm. So just share with the soil lovers listening some of the things that you've been learning and experiencing while being a Regen Rockstar admin and everything in between.
Oh my God, I'm in a hot seat right now. I thought I can escape this one. Anyway, I'm not an expert, really. It's just that I saw my dad. He's a farmer before. We have this like cornfields, or that's the right thing to say, rice field. Is in the Philippines. We produce corn, rice, and then I also experienced planting coconut trees when I was young, because our father taught us, because we are two. I mean, I have one sibling, we're just two, and he wanted to teach us, how important it is to know or to learn how to grow your own food, not depending on like buying your foods in the market and everywhere. He taught us to, like, you have to know where your food come from. It's like that, just to make sure that you're eating healthy stuff, because you can't say that, oh, I bought that food from the market, it says organic, but you're not sure that it's organic, right? We don't know. So that's the reason why, and I really appreciate what my father taught us. And until then, at least I know how to dig deeper into our soil, and then until I became a part of Farming Secrets, I was able to explore more about this regenerative thing, because I'm so guilty, because I've been also using like sprays before, pesticides, chemicals, like the fertilizer, to make the plants produce more. So that's the time that I was able to learn that it's not good, it's not good for the soil, and most especially for our health. So I'm really, really happy to be a part of Farming Secrets, and to to spend time with you all guys in this virtual Regen classroom, because every time we have this meeting, I'm learning, I'm discovering things from you, because you've been sharing heaps of, your expertise, your experience. It was like, oh my God, I want to have my own farm. So that's my mindset now. I want to have my own regenerative farm in the future. And I hope I can. I'll be saving for that, so that I can apply everything that I am learning here in Farming Secrets. That's all. Thank you.
That's why we call her the Regen Rockstar, because, Bella has definitely grabbed the passion of soil as much as I have and ran with it. And, I call her my boss, because she definitely has got her mind in the right area and tells me, no, Ray, you committed to this, you need to do it, and keeps me in line. So definitely super appreciative. And Jel, our other staff member, is also, working on the farm and learning the practices and wrote a blog article at her own will on our farmingsecrets.com blog, where she spoke about having to transition her parents into a more natural and regenerative and biological way of thinking. So, this is the type of people that we love hanging out with, and I'm just super blessed every day to hang out with that. And also importantly, Helen and Hugo and the legacy that they've created. They were very early adopters in getting into what was then back then called biological farming, and natural farming. There were no sexy words called regen ag or regenerative this or syntropic that. It was literally just about understanding the biology of the soil and going to trade shows and being like, oh, you're those hippie regen, or no regen, like natural people, like, yeah, there's a table in the back corner for you. And they just pushed through, they cut through that, and they resisted and stuck at it for many, many years. And kudos to everyone and met amazing people. And, some of our early day videos that is now living in the Soil Learning Center are things recorded on a handy cam at the back of a show or back of a trade exhibition or on someone's farm. And we used to call them walk the talks, because it was literally like walking along the paddock and just talking and going, oh, what's this plant? And why are you doing this? And what does this tractor do? And that curiosity of Helen and Hugo and to interview all these people really created, what Farming Secrets is today. We were sharing the secrets of farmers right around the world. And it was a DVD business, we'd burn DVDs and ship them to anyone who wanted to watch it. And then we digitalized about 3 years ago. And this is where we've created these virtual spaces and what we call our virtual Regen classroom, which is what you're experiencing tonight. As we are asking our members and mentors some of the questions. So our signature question on the podcast is for you to be the voice of the soil. So we might go around the room and we'll start off with, we'll go the same order. So Megan, if you were the voice of our soils, what would you say to us on the planet?
Oh, hard one. Probably stop killing me.
Yes, love that. Awesome. Let's keep them punchy. Kay, what would you say if you were the soil of our voice, the voice of our soil? Oh, you need to unmute first.
I would say, I feel sick, but don't give me what you think you're going to give me. Just help me get there. You don't need to give me anything.
Not that medicine. That's poison.
That's right. Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I got it. Gerhard, yourself, what would you say if you're the voice of our soils?
I'd say treat me humanely and with respect, and I will give to you.
Love that. I'll give to you. That's so important, treat with respect and it will nurture us forever. Monica, if you were the voice of our souls, what would you say?
Well, Gerhard has just taken my words out of the mouth. Sorry, I had to say, give what you want to see or what you want to receive. So it is really this mutual respect and the interconnectedness, which I find, which is a bit lacking and which I would like to have addressed if I was the soil.
Yes, love that. Yeah, awesome. And it's true. What you put in is what you get out. You put poisons in, poisons will come out. And I love that articulation. Pat, if you were the voice, Monica. Yep.
I want perhaps to say something to that, because I find it also interesting that we look at soil and we change only one letter, which is the E, and put it in a U in. It is very connective. Right. So if we have soil and soul,
right.
which brings the human into it. So it has so much together.
Yeah, I love that you said that. I've got a quote card going around, and it's like the only difference between soul and soil is you and I, and together we can heal it.
That's right.
Gives me goosebumps.
No.
Love that. Love that. Pat, if you were the voice of our soils, what would you say to us on Earth?
Probably along the same lines, but maybe something like live with me.
Ooh, I love that. Yeah, love with me. That's totally perfect. And Trina, if you were the voice of our souls, what would you tell us on Earth? I might have to unmute. And I think you're driving, so I'm conscious that
feed me and look after me.
Feed me and look after me. Awesome. Yep. Love that. Bella, if you were the voice of our souls, what would you say to us? You're on mute.
Well, I just wanted to say to us, to everyone, that heal me, love me, and regenerate me if needed.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. Well, soil lovers, that brings us to the end of this podcast. I've absolutely enjoyed digging deep with our Farming Secrets members. And if you want to find out more and hang out in an amazing space like this, then head over to farmingsecrets.com and the Soil Learning Center. Links will be all around the show notes. So with that, thank you everyone for your attention. And I really hope you got to get a firsthand experience of what it's like to hang out with really, really deep and connected like-minded individuals. And hopefully you can understand why I bounce out of bed every day and have fallen in love with the soil and keep digging deeper, because it's this and, some of the things that you've heard firsthand tonight of why we do what we do. Some of the other podcasts, we talk to experts and mentors and people who are farming, but this is near and dear to our hearts. And as you've heard today, there's some amazing stories from people who are just passionate gardeners, people following different methods, people who are starting farmers, and even our own staff and myself included. So on that note, until next time, get outside, get your hands dirty, and keep digging deeper into your soils and get around like-minded people. I'm Regen Ray. Well, soil lovers, that's enough secrets for one episode. I really hope that you enjoyed all the secrets shared during this conversation. But hey, let's not keep it a secret. Please share this podcast around and make sure that you like it and leave us a review, because that really helps spread the secrets of the soil. Until next time, remember, get outside, get your hands dirty, and keep digging deeper into your soils.